Hey, it's your old pal Lucid Stu again, and we are back on that big beautiful freeway exploring the Phase 1 California high-speed rail route to celebrate 10,000 subscribers. But now we're at 11,000 subscribers. In this video, we'll travel from Bakersfield to Merced, including many places between that are under construction as we speak. You'll experience the route from ground level and hopefully gain an appreciation of the scale of this project like I did while filming it. A quick overview of the Central Valley segment. It runs from Bakersfield in the south to Merced in the north. This is 171 miles of track with 3 stations between at Hanford, Fresno, and Madera. 119 miles of that in the middle are currently under construction. Last time we left off in Bakersfield, and that is where we will start in this video. We're back at the future California high-speed rail Bakersfield station site located at the intersection of Golden State Avenue and F Street. Let's talk a little more about what's planned for this site. Construction in Bakersfield should start next year, 2025. However, right now there is no sign of what this will become. The station will be under platforms elevated nearly 60 feet above ground level. The tracks on either end will also be elevated through the Bakersfield area. Areas next to the station under the tracks could end up as park or retail space. Bakersfield is a busy bus destination. As such, the Bakersfield station site will have 2 large bus depots, one regional and one local. Those will be similar to the depot at the current Amtrak station downtown, which fills both roles now. The station will initially be surrounded by tons of surface parking with as many as 3,900 spaces. Some of that may be developed into mixed use eventually. Bakersfield might have its work cut out for it spreading the influence of the station beyond this site due to its somewhat isolated nature within the city. However, Bakersfield does have a plan for that. Link in the card and description. In this video, we will explore all the Central Valley station sites, but if you'd like a more in-depth look at the current plans for those, check out my video, California High-Speed Rail Park and Ride Nightmare, in the card above and in the description. As we depart the Bakersfield station site, we'll cross the Kern River on Golden State Avenue and head out to the northwest to check out some structures the California High-Speed Rail Authority is building or has already built. Here I'm crossing the State Route 99 freeway on 7th Standard Road, narrowly avoiding being killed by not 1, not 2, but 3 reckless drivers in the span of 2 minutes. Yay, Bakersfield! About 1.5 miles north of here, the California high-speed rail tracks will leave the Union Pacific right-of-way and curve west, heading for the Burlington Northern Santa Fe right-of-way near Shafter. California high-speed rail will approach the BNSF right-of-way here at an unassuming set of orange groves next to the Shafter Cemetery. The tracks will be coming toward the camera from Bakersfield and then hooking to the left in a high-speed curve near ground level. We're now heading north on State Route 43 at the city of Shafter, about where the tracks will hook up with BNSF right-of-way off to the right and enter a 4-mile-long trench under the various crossings through the city. California High-Speed Rail got $202 million in Chrissy grants last year for this work, including 1 road closure and 6 grade separations. On the right here is Poplar Avenue, the northern extent of the Shafter trenching. Up ahead is the Merced Avenue overpass, which is the far southern extent of Construction Package 4 and the first of many completed California high-speed rail structures we will see in this video. You can also see the earthen berm they've built on the right, separating BNSF tracks from the California high-speed rail guideway. 3 miles north past the also complete Kimberlina overpass is the mammoth Wasco Viaduct. This is the southernmost of several large viaducts in the Central Valley necessary to convey California high-speed rail tracks over other rights-of-way. The Wasco Viaduct is about 1 mile long with a 1/4-mile pergola section allowing California high-speed rail to cross from the east side of BNSF tracks to the west before reaching the city of Wasco 1/2 mile to the north. Speaking of Wasco, we're now on G Street heading north with the California High-Speed Rail right-of-way on our right. Past that is the famous Poso Avenue undercrossing. Notice the tasteful use of exterior electrical conduit to light the place. For those of you wondering how pedestrians are going to cross this, witness the somewhat dubious sidewalk on the left. More G Street on the other side of the Poso crossing. More the same really, but with some berms thrown in to boot. On the north side of Wasco, State Route 43 crosses under the tracks at Paso Robles Highway and then travels along the east side of the California High-Speed Rail right-of-way. This was my first sighting of construction, but this looks like work BNSF was doing, which makes sense because this is construction package 4 and civil engineering on that is nearly complete. Another example ahead, the completed McCombs Road overpass. Another 4 miles north and California High-Speed Rail starts curving away from State Route 43 to the northwest. Since the California High-Speed Rail right-of-way cuts through a lot of farmland and is not always neatly bounded by a road, I elected to stay on State Route 43 and give you a sense of what the Central Valley is like, rather than try to chase every structure. We also get to see 2 common Central Valley sights, a freight train hauling butt and tree swallows. This is in the Allensworth area, a small town near a state park and eco-reserve of the same name. We'll see more swallows and more freight trains in due time. This leads us to the next major structure as the California High-Speed Rail right-of-way meets back up with us on the left, the Deer Creek Viaduct. This nearly mile-long viaduct will convey tracks over Deer Creek, a road, and a spur line for the town of Alpaugh. We're also seeing the first of many dirt hauling trucks helping to move the huge amount of earth required to build the remaining 33 miles of guideway in CPs 1 through 3. Visible construction continues northwest from there, reaching the far eastern extent of the Tulare lake bed. There could eventually be some subsidence concerns in this area, especially if there is another lake flooding event like last year. For now, the guideway is on a sizable berm and is safe from such threats in the midterm. Whether or not it becomes an issue in the future is up to water policy as much as engineering. However, given structures like the Deer Creek Viaduct and the Tule River Viaduct here, tracks should be quite elevated in the areas of greatest river flooding danger. This massive structure is about 3/4 of a mile long and similar to the Wasco Viaduct, but it will carry tracks over the Tule River and State Route 43 as well as BNSF tracks. California High-Speed Rail tracks will transition from the west side of the BNSF right-of-way and curve east to circumvent Corcoran, which is a city of about 25,000. From the satellite view, it looks like the right-of-way will need to inconveniently hook around some spreading ponds, so it starts curving back to the west near the roundabout junction of State Route 43 and SR 137. Through the Corcoran area, it looks like some half-hearted guideway work has sat too long, and then north of there, they've moved SR 43 slightly east to facilitate the California High-Speed Rail right-of-way moving over it in a sweeping 6-mile radius S-curve to hook up with the alignment of the Hanford Viaduct and King's Tulare Station. The S-curve features 4 completed overpasses rising from the plain like the humps of a legendary serpent. Massive, slightly out of scale cyclopean structures seeming like remnants of an ancient lost civilization that we even now are unable to decipher. The first 2 of these is for Kansas Avenue, followed by Kent Avenue, both on the west side of SR 43. North of those 2, California High-Speed Rail tracks will cross back over State Route 43 to the east side. Lots of activity there building up the berms for that, a nearly endless stream of trucks coming and going. You get a very real sense of the volume of material being moved just to this one spot. Hundreds of trucks, one after another. Suddenly, you start to appreciate the logistics involved. This scene, day in, day out, across 119 miles in space and 9 years now in time, and still possibly 9 more years to go, just to run trains between Merced and Bakersfield, far from the ultimate goal of Los Angeles to San Francisco. North of there, continuing to investigate the Serpent on Jackson Avenue. And like with the two previous, it's twin for Idaho Avenue, the stream of trucks continuing all the while on State Route 43. Looking north from the Idaho Avenue crossing, one thing I didn't realize previously is that they're adjacent to power transmission lines for about 8 miles here. Just when it seems like the construction is over, an even bigger shadow looms between and beyond the trees. They obscure the structure just enough to make it difficult to realize the true size of it. And then on the transition from State Route 43 north to State Route 198 east, it starts to come into view, the Hanford Viaduct, reaching from either side of the expressway as though struggling to get over. By the way, after I got back from this trip, they managed to take a bunch of concrete girders from here and actually finish that portion of girders over State Route 198. At first glance, the structure is nearly incomprehensible. Why is it here? What is nearby that would necessitate this? Why is it this large? The answer to the first question, this is the location of the California High-Speed Rail Kings Tulare station. The viaduct will hold its quarter-mile long platforms and carry the tracks over and perpendicular to State Route 198, as well as a Union Pacific branch line that spans the width of the San Joaquin Valley here. Second question, what necessitates this? The sum total of nearby population is about 300,000, 80% of which lives more than 10 miles from the station site, so that's a tougher one to answer. Third question, why is it this large? Because of the station, it becomes the super duper version of examples we've seen previously. We're now in downtown Hanford, the closest city at 3 miles from the California High-Speed Rail station site. Hanford is not the smallest city on Earth at 55,000 people. It's a nice enough town. I find no immediate fault in Hanford. Does it necessitate a high-speed rail station when the one in Fresno will only be 35 miles away and there's already a rail connection between the two? Visalia, Tulare, and Lemoore are also nearby but 10 miles distant from the California High-Speed Rail station site or more. While I show you the real-time distance between Hanford and the station, let's explore one potential use case in this region, downtown Visalia to downtown Fresno. That's roughly a 45-minute drive. How about with high-speed rail? The drive to the station is about 20 minutes. Let's say 15 minutes to park and catch your train. It's 32 miles by train, which will average about 120 miles per hour over the short distance, so another 15 minutes. 5-minute walk from the station for a total of 55 minutes. It's slower and it's probably more expensive. Comparisons do improve to the south since downtown Bakersfield is 40 miles further, but times are still close, about an hour 15 minutes for high-speed rail and an hour and 20 minutes driving. There are plans for express bus service through the area that will connect with the station. This is supposed to eventually evolve into train service on the previously mentioned UP branch line. While offering options, both those modes would be slower than driving and only offer 30-minute headways. This would certainly work out better than present for people outside of Hanford without a car, but for anyone with a car, driving to the station will almost always be the better choice. This is because State Route 198 is a very fast roadway and it doesn't have much traffic. A good percentage of the time, driving instead of taking high-speed rail from this station will be a better choice, unless traveling outside of the initial operating segment between Merced and Bakersfield. And with all that said, we're still a minute away from the station, driving from the far eastern edge of Hanford. To the north of Hanford, the California High-Speed Rail path breaks away from State Route 43, so I'm going to skip quite a few overpasses of the two-lane country road type that we've already seen. California High-Speed Rail does cross SR 43 one last time here 6 miles north of Hanford, and that provides a preview of what that similar crossing 6 miles south of Hanford will look like. I did eventually leave SR 43 for Conejo Avenue, going west to check out the Conejo Viaduct. This is another structure where the California High-Speed Rail route crosses over freight. Still BNSF, this time crossing from east to west. This one a little shorter than the others at 2,000 feet, but no less impressive because it also crosses over an at-grade intersection of the road and the freight tracks. And boy, did I get lucky with the timing on this one. The freight train really provides a sense of the absolute bulk of these structures. This one is a little easier to explore at a leisurely pace since it's right next to the tiny town of Conejo and not off in a field or next to a highway. I then hooked up with Cedar Avenue heading north, which of course intercepts the oft-featured Cedar Viaduct over the State Route 99 freeway. I skipped a few more completed overpasses, but this area near the South Avenue overpass is interesting because off to the right, the BNSF freight tracks are being pushed 200 feet to the east, which will allow California high-speed rail tracks to stay to the west of freight and retain a full-speed geometry. Slightly further north, I get cut off by one of our dirt hauling trucks, and then the Cedar Viaduct starts coming into view. At 2.5 miles, this is the longest structural segment in the Central Valley portion of the project. It looms large over the area, flying well above Cedar Avenue, itself flying over SR 99, which sits at ground level. Even though the viaduct is brand new, the drab nature of the surrounding area makes it look like it's been there a while, and the thrill of newness just wasn't there when I looked at it. It's still an enormous and very impressive structure. It should be interesting to see trains on it and ride trains over it, as the tracks will be about 60 feet above ground level through much of the crossing. Seeing traffic drive under it helps emphasize the enormous scale of the thing. I was lucky enough to have time to film it from both directions on the freeway. Look at how huge it is next to that tanker truck. More than once I concluded these structures weren't that different than typical roadway structures, but they're about 150% scale. This gives them a weird alien appearance in person, like they're left over from an ancient extinct race of giants. The Cedar Viaduct then leads into the Fresno station site, which I checked out from the Chinatown side first. This is G Street heading northwest. Right now they're working to finalize the right-of-way and finish up the remaining track structures around the station site. Station construction isn't set to start for another couple of years yet. That doesn't mean nothing is happening here. This is the Tuolumne Avenue Bridge over the tracks to the north of the station that is complete and carrying traffic. While I was on the Chinatown side of the tracks, I decided to take a look around. This drive down F Street, a block southwest of the station site, confirmed the impressions I got from checking out Google Street View. The area is pretty rough right now, but the layout is good and its 2-lane streets with street parking look pretty walkable. You probably wouldn't want to do much walking there now, but 10 years from now might be a different story. There is one new development in the area presently. On the way to downtown, I crossed the tracks at Divisadero Street, and this is the location of the Fresno Trench, although you can't see it because it's below ground level. This is Fulton Street, running from northwest to southeast. It's 2 blocks northeast of the future Fresno, California high-speed rail station. Though downtown Fresno is about 100 square blocks in size, the livable part, potentially revitalized by California high-speed rail, is along Fulton. The history of this street is fascinating, as it has enjoyed just about every form an urban thoroughfare can, from dusty path for horse-drawn carriages, to streetcars, to 4-lane street, to pedestrian mall, to now a 2-lane street with street parking. A handful of historic buildings have managed to survive the early 20th century, lending the place enough character to form the foundation for redevelopment. And the city of Fresno agrees. Check out the link in the card and description for their redevelopment plans. Beyond California high-speed rail, the area is served 1 block over by a transit center located on the southwestern end of the vast civic area of downtown Fresno, the layout of which would likely be greatly appreciated by the Aztecs. A couple of blocks over is H Street, which fronts the future station on the northeast side. You find Fresno's baseball stadium here, as well as the historic Southern Pacific Depot, which will be part of the California High-Speed Rail station area. Along 8th Street, there are several large parking lots set for redevelopment, so this area could be an effective complement to and gateway between the station and Fulton. Then on the other side of the tracks, Chinatown will host a major bus depot situated on G Street, which we saw earlier. Overall, I think Fresno around the future California High-Speed Rail station site has a lot of potential, but they've got to connect the Central Valley segment to San Francisco in order for that to truly materialize, and at current pace, the wait could be 2 or 3 decades. Heading out of Fresno on State Route 99 to the northwest, between here and downtown, the California High-Speed Rail right-of-way has replaced Golden State Boulevard, which would have been a great place to film from a car, but it's gone now. We are intercepting a major completed works project, though. Between Clinton and Ashland, the freeway needed to be moved 80 feet west to allow the California High-Speed Rail guideway to squeeze between it and a Union Pacific yard on the right. This was one of the first projects completed, and unlike others, has been in use for several years now. That huge wall you see has been built to separate passenger rail from freight with a nearly surely impenetrable barrier. Eventually, we exit State Route 99 on Golden State Boulevard and get to travel a portion of that road that has not yet been demolished. However, much like the portion further south, this too will eventually be replaced by California High-Speed Rail, and in this case, the road will be realigned to the left. Back on SR 99, you can see the hump of the San Joaquin River Bridge in the distance. The San Joaquin River Viaduct then reveals itself to the right, looming over the relatively diminutive freight trucks on the freeway. As predicted, the structure is already well tagged, although there's still plenty of room left, you Fresno slackers. The structure transitions from pergola over the freight tracks to the river crossing, and we witness the flaccid, disappointing, dinky little afterthought of an arch they dropped on there. The right-of-way then hugs the freeway and Union Pacific tracks briefly before curving off to the north toward the future Madera station site. That station is situated off of Avenue 12 on the outskirts of Madera, but lucky me, the off-ramp was closed, so I got to drive on 10 miles of farm roads to get there. But here we are, Avenue 12 heading east. The station site is off to the left. No, you're not dreaming, there's really nothing out here. And one more time, heading west. Station site half a mile to the right. Those were the BNSF tracks. The station will be where they converge with the California High-Speed Rail guideway that we're going over now. The only other thing out here is a community college that you can just make out in the distance. On top of everything else, the Madera station is only 18 miles from the Fresno station. Madera also hosts the infamous Fresno River Viaduct. It has been sitting there across the Fresno River complete, but disconnected, for years. Happily, crews are working on both ends to connect it to guideway through the area. This is 4 miles from the northern end of construction package 1 and the 119 miles currently being worked on. Beyond that, the route will hook west and travel along the north side of State Route 152 on the right here for a while until reaching State Route 233, where it will start curving north toward Merced. This is the eastern leg of the Central Valley Y, which would eventually be a 3-way intersection connecting the LA to San Francisco section of the route with parts north of Madera in the Central Valley. For now, it will only connect Merced to Madera. The rest will be constructed later. Then it's 7 miles through farmland until curving northwest to meet up with State Route 99 and Union Pacific tracks again, toward Merced near the La Grande Road exit. I have this running in reverse because I got this footage the next day heading south on the way back. Now we're in Merced at MLK and 15th. The California High-Speed Rail tracks will cross over in front of us on 30-foot high viaduct between 15th and the Union Pacific tracks here. Now we're on 15th Street, 8 blocks west of our previous view, heading east back toward MLK. Everything you see here will be demolished. On the left will be the platforms and station, on the right, surface parking lots. Also, hopefully they repave these roads in the process. That continues until reaching O Street here. From there, everything on the left must go all the way to State Route 99 a mile ahead, and that will be replaced with Viaduct. That demolition includes an In-N-Out burger. I don't know if you've seen the Brady Bunch episode where they go to Hawaii and Bobby stumbles across an evil idol, but this could have similar consequences. You can't say I didn't warn you, Merced. On the north side, the station site is bounded by 16th Street, which we're on now. We're heading west from downtown toward the station. Where the buses are on the left is a transit center and Greyhound bus station. The California High-Speed Rail station site runs from O Street to R Street. On the left will be parking, then the station entrance plaza. On the right, those businesses will go, and that will be a bus depot. Then more parking on the left. This is downtown Merced on Main Street, traveling west 1 block north of 16th. Real nice little downtown. The challenge is going to be connecting this with the station site a half mile away and getting people across 16th Street, which is the busiest east-west route in the downtown area except for the freeway. In terms of station plans, it's important to mention that this is a quote-unquote temporary northern terminus for high-speed rail. As such, there are plans to connect California high-speed rail with both Amtrak San Joaquin's and ACE, which will transfer passengers to the north towards Sacramento as well as the Bay Area. So this will be one of the more important nodes in the state's transit network, potentially for several decades. Speaking of the Bay Area, we'll head there in the next video, but we've completed our quest to go from Bakersfield to Merced in this one. I hope you enjoyed this ground level view of part of what's going on with California high-speed rail in the Central Valley. Let me know what you think of the project in the comments. Let me know what you think of the various station sites too. But that's all for now. Until next time, I'll see you on that big beautiful freeway.